Okay, welcome to Clown World. Today I'm joined by the world's top Jeffrey Epstein impersonator. I'm talking about his looks, not his behaviour, although that's questionable too. It's Lewis Schaffer.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Lewis?
Yes. I'm doing all right. I don't think I look like Jeffrey Epstein anymore. But if you want to believe it, you can believe it. He was really good looking when he died. And thankfully he died right as I think he looked his best when he died. And then it's been all downhill.
Well, the trouble with looking like Jeffrey Epstein, it's like being a Marilyn Monroe impersonator. Like as you get older, you stop looking like Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. But yesterday I was on the train and the subway and the underground in London, and somebody just blurted out Jeffrey Epstein like to me, and I knew it was about me. So, but I liked it. I don't, of course you don't like him, but I like him. He's really hardworking. He's got all the qualities, or some of the qualities that I wish I had. He's really hardworking.
I don't know if he's that hard-working. I used to think that the secret to getting ahead in high finance and becoming a billionaire was like being incredibly smart, being some sort of, Chinese-level maths genius and, knowing the markets inside out and studying and stuff. And no, it's not. Apparently, you just bribe Labour politicians to give you insider information about political moves, like a €500 billion bailout, things like that move the financial markets, and then you can bet on them. And it's insider trading. It's just flat-out fraud. It's like something the mafia would do.
No, you're wrong. You happen to be wrong. It's not easy to get close to those people. You don't just go up to a Labour politician and say, can I give you some money? You have to be friends with them and be trustworthy with them and actually seem legitimate to them. It's like girls. You just don't hang out with girls without knowing that they're not going to destroy your life or hope they're not going to destroy your life.
Well, it turns out the secret to getting close to politicians is offering them private jet trips to an island where they can commit paedophilia.
Yeah, that's part of it, but you have to organize that. You have to get the money. It's a long process. He didn't get all that money. He bought that house in 1998, so he was probably in his 40s when he bought the house. He didn't buy it initially. And I think the most important thing, and maybe this sounds like really cynical, it's like finding out what people want and giving it to them. Like he was giving Jeffrey Mandelson some access to famous... Peter, whatever his name is, what did I say? Yeah, giving that guy something. He was like with Peter Attia, finding out what Peter, you don't even know who the guy is, what Peter Attia wants.
Who's Peter Attia?
Peter Attia is a guy similar to me, except he was famous and had a doctor's degree, and he was going around spewing faux scientific stuff about food and like longevity. Like me, exactly like me, except he was fit and he was hard working like I am.
But you have sort of unlocked the secret to longevity because you're 28, and
I'm 28, but I've got old skin. I'm 20. I'm 27.
But I remember 27. like when I first met you, you'd have been in your 50s and you were kind of fat, and. Yeah, this was because you're eating carbohydrates and seed oils and things like that.
Well, the problem is with this show right now, we should stop the show and maybe continue it in like an hour or two, is my face looks horrific. It's basically the morning to me. You look brilliant. You look as good as I've ever seen you look. I don't know. Do you put on any makeup? I'm not asking. But I did. I controlled my diet. And that's how you get close to people. Is not close to people. That's how I get close to people. I tell them what they need to do to change their life, and then they realize I'm just some guy, and they stop listening to me.
Yeah, the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, it's like, he was Peter Mandelson said, he's a master manipulator, which is a bit of a cop-out for Peter Mandelson, because Peter Mandelson isn't some naive waif wandering through the forest, Bambi being, this innocent being picked on by a predator. Like, Peter Mandelson is an apex predator, is the most Machiavellian man alive in politics, which is saying something. So, he knew everything that was going on, but Jeffrey Epstein did seem to have this, and he, completely without any scruples, because obviously using sex and using trafficked girls to get influence and get leverage over these people. But he was a master networker. He'd use inviting people to parties and then using that leverage, then using the fact that people, academics and intellectuals want to hang out with celebrities, want to hang out with politicians, and also the politicians and the celebrities want to hang out with the intellectuals to try and feel a bit smart. It's like the party equivalent of going to watch a Christopher Nolan film.
Well, the difference is that you do not know Jeffrey Epstein. I know Jeffrey Epstein. He grew up in a place in Brooklyn called Seagate, Coney Island, right down there. You can't get any further. The next step is Africa, down there. He makes Donald Trump seem like he's the king of England. It's like, so I'm not saying, I don't want to say anything bad about it, but it's like low class. It makes me seem classy. I grew up in Great Neck, and with his accent, I listened to his tape, and his accent is so low class. He sounds like Jane Goody. and praise to Jane Goody.
Oh yeah,
and
great woman.
And so
been proven right in a lot of things.
Yeah, probably true. She'd be out there with at the demonstrations. The thing about him is that he couldn't even have the sense to get speech therapy.
Yeah,
he sounds worse than me, and so maybe with Peter Mandelson.
Yeah, I was going to say with Jeffrey Epstein, it's almost like his he almost overdid it. It was almost like he's rubbing people's face, because looking at the grammar and the punctuation in his emails and just his tone in them, it's very raw, it's very unfiltered, it's very sort of like almost like a power play. Like him being so low class is like a power play that he can exert on people, almost to sort of say, I can act like this. Because I'm the billionaire.
Possibly. I mean, everybody's got ways of getting ahead in life, and maybe he realized that the more low class he acted, the people felt, well, he must be a low class genius. Yeah. Especially in America, it works in America. I don't know if it works in Britain, and people fell for Peter Mandelson all those years, I guess. I mean, I don't know what exactly he did that was so special, but he was a posh gay guy. And he goes, oh, well, he's a posh gay. Is he gay?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, he's a posh gay guy. So he must know stuff because he's posh and he's gay. And he's I mean, I wish I were like, I'm not going to say it, but
you wish you were posh?
I wish I mean, if you can be posh, I don't even know. Did Peter Mandelson have any money? And is Peter Mandelson this guy? There are a million people like this guy.
Well, the thing with Peter Mandelson is he can't have that much money because he was giving away like confidential government documents in return for, I mean, all right, sounds like a lot of money, $75,000. But that's not like, if you're a billionaire, that's not even, turning the dial. It's nothing. But it's obviously enough for Peter Mandelson to commit like pretty egregious crimes against the British state, like handing over confidential government information. That's like, that's like one of the things. Like it's right at the top of the page of what you don't do if you're in politics.
No, it's true. But didn't Keir Starmer give away the government for a suit?
Oh.
Didn't what's her name for I mean the thing about Britain is it's always been a cheap country.
Yeah.
It's that the Americans would go there to buy cheap land at a cheap title or something. So I mean it's only now that the place has become so expensive. It's not America. Well, look at how much money we're sorry.
Well, yeah, one of the things about Starmer. So yesterday he gave this speech where he said Britishness is about, he was railing against reform and Matt Goodwin and all the rest of it. And he said Britishness is about being British, is about being diverse. And the trouble with that is, like, I thought I was British, but I'm not diverse. I'm like a white British guy. So that means I'm not British. According to Keir
Starmer's,
not
diverse.
According to Keir Starmer's rules, you can only be British if you're diverse. So, I'm really worried about this. Am I going to be deported? Am I going to be sent to Rwanda? Is the new Rwanda plan anybody who's white gets sent out of Britain?
Well, and what am I? I used to be diverse, and now I'm losing all the color in my face as we get older. It's a nightmare. The truth is that he's Keir Starmer. It's nothing to do with Keir Starmer. He's just he's a cog in the wheel of Britishism. I mean, they want to be like Americans. Keir Starmer, those people. He's easily replaced But at the same time, he was an amazing guy. He was like number 2 in The Prisoner. He will be replaced. Does anybody know that reference?
I get that. I get that reference. That was a '60s TV show. It was sometimes repeated because there wasn't much to watch in the '80s and '90s.
No, it was brilliant. The Prisoner was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the guy who was in charge of the whole compound, supposedly, he was called number 2, which meant there was a number 1, is that he lost his job. There was always somebody new to take his his place.
Well, I saw an interesting theory that says that you know, the sort of political class now are now just a sort of deflector shield. They're just there to mop up all the public vitriol and anger at, you know, the direction of the country and the state of the country. So we've got this sort of managerial class, the civil service, who are really running everything, and we've got the, you know, the people who are making some money, you know, like the boss of Just Eat or Deliveroo. They're making so much money from these small boats coming in because the small boats get given, you know, free accommodation or whatever, and then can work as a Deliveroo driver, Uber Eats driver, and so, you know, there's people making money off it, and they just want a sort of a political shield. They just want a shield there to mop up the bows and arrows. So if you go in as Prime Minister, you know you're only going to last. You know, this is like a 15-year-old kid going to the Somme, going at the First World War. Like, you're only going to last a certain amount of time. Like, it's 11 days or whatever. Like, maybe a bit longer if you're Rishi Sunak. But we see this, you know, the leader goes in, then there's like whatever scandal brings them down, you know, the factions in the party in the party fight and bring them down. We saw it with Boris. Boris got brought down, then they brought in Liz Truss, and then she got taken down, then Rishi Sunak, and he got taken down. Well, he kind of fell on his own sword. And now it's happening with Labour.
Well, who's the people in charge? Do you know who the people in charge?
I think the civil service.
Who are they?
The civil service are mostly in charge.
It's happening in every single country, Leo. Come on. Every single country this is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening in France and in Germany. It's happening in Mexico. It's that half the population believe in stealing stuff. Half the population are communists. Half the population are globalists. Half the population are women. And they believe in fairness and that they deserve stuff. I blame women. I'm sorry, I shouldn't blame women.
Well, no, a lot of people do. A lot of people do blame women, and there's a lot of people on the right talking about how they're even talking about how, you know, suffrage should be rolled back and women shouldn't have the vote, which I think
I've said that. I don't think women should vote.
No, but I mean this is I mean, I think that's silly because I blame the men. The men, like, I sort of understand why women would just be like, you know, oh, what's nice? They want things to be nice. You know, they don't understand that you got to go out and fight with bears and you know, swing off a rope on an oil rig. They don't understand that because they're geared towards either looking after kids or sitting in a nice warm office eating Snacky Jacks, and you know, a lot of office jobs are now just essentially you know, women tone policing things, like, you know, HR. The entire HR industry is just women, you know, tone policing a workplace.
And that's a new industry. Have you ever been unhappily married, Leo? You never have been.
No, I've only been happily married.
Yes, exactly. When you're unhappily married, we can talk about this. You have no idea how dangerous women are. You have no idea.
But I think it's silly for, you know, I blame men more because, like, well, women have got an excuse. Like, I can understand why women are more, you know, they're warmer, they're nicer. They want people to have a nice time. They don't want to see anybody having a bad time. And, you know, although that sounds good, that can lead to, you know, negative things. Like, I disagree with women who say, well, we should look after these people from Somalia. It's like, nah, I don't really want to. If we got to look after them, let's look after them from a distance. You know what I mean? But like, women used to be a lot more conservative, a lot more right wing than men. And I don't know if it's just because, like, social media's changed things, so now, you know, people have to publicly display this virtue, or I don't know if it's because, you know, women aren't having kids as much as they used to. But then I know that, you know, I know somebody who doesn't have kids. One of my patrons doesn't have kids. Very based woman. Look at Ayn Rand. Did Ayn Rand have kids? I don't know.
No, but that's the way now you're thinking like a woman. You're saying, well, it's not true for everybody, so it's not true. I had a friend of mine, one of my Patreon people, on my live stream, Lewis Schaffer Uncooked, you can go find it on YouTube, is that I said women don't like football. And she goes, oh my God, I love football. And she does love football. Yeah. But I said, I left out the part as a general group. Women have always been a leftists. And what happened was, once upon a time, when men stopped being able to provide you, Leo,
yeah.
People can't see how tall and handsome you are. They can see how handsome you are, but they cannot see how tall you are, how you are an alpha male, how bright you are. So that most women would go, oh, I feel safe around him. Women don't feel safe around Lewis Schaffer. So how are they going to? How can they respect me? The fact is, it's not funny, Leo. Men have been demoralized. We've been demonetized. Men now, 60% of all the lawyers in America are women, or going to be women. They're men, and it's all the people going to school here. Where are the men making the money? So if men, you have to make more money than a woman. They want you to make more money. If you don't make more money, who makes more money? Joe Biden.
Well, Joe Biden makes a lot of money, and his family, even his extended, even 13-year-old cousins, 13-year-old nieces and nephews of Joe Biden make money that somehow get money from like Romanian oligarchs. What are they paying for? Why is it? What you think? You think Joe Biden's nephew is providing some sort of essential service to Romanian
Leo,
businesses?
this show is not about Joe Biden.
I know it's not about Joe Biden. I know that's I know, yesterday's news.
But it's an important point. The point is there's a leftist world going on out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it. There's a leftist world. They're all. It's like half the planet are communists, and they will destroy the planet. And then the people.
This is the thing. It's coming back. Even though from talking to people in everyday life, you might think, well, most people are normal. Most people have sensible opinions. Like, man, wokeism is coming back, and it's a couple of things. Number one, like the collectivists get organized. They work as a collective, whereas individualists, like you and I, like we're both
staying at home.
Yeah, we don't sort of get. We've got no interest in infiltrating an organization and bending it to our will. We've got other stuff to get on with. You know what I mean? Like weird diets to invent, or whatever I do. I don't know. Like, but we've got stuff to do that doesn't involve. We don't want to control other people, but the people who want to control other people are all controlling each other as well. So they form these blobs that then control everything, and they seep into all the institutions and into all the organizations and control everything. That's HR departments are essentially that. So there's that side of
most of the work today are run by women.
Yeah.
They're run by women, or they're run by gay guys, or they're run by guys who want to get into women's pants, and they'll be all agreeable and nice to them. But women don't have respect. They have respect for tall, handsome, burly man like you, Leo Kurz.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm burly.
You are. You're very strong. You're strong. Are you burly?
But I've got quite a waif-like figure. Very, very slender.
No, I don't think you do. That's type 2 diabetes. That's not that.
Is type 2 the one that's reversible, or is type 1 irreversible? You're just born with it.
Type 1 is irreversible, basically. Yeah. Type 1, first you start out with type 1, and then first you start out with type 2 diabetes when you're a child. I forgot what my rule is with this thing. It's revolutionary.
Yeah.
What causes type 2 diabetes is going up like this from eating sugar.
Yeah.
And type 1 diabetes is going up like that as well. If type 1 is genetic, why is it going up so fast? That's another question. Did you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, I mean the diabetes thing, because I think obesity is becoming such a big problem for the world. And like poor diet is becoming such a big problem for the world. I don't understand it. I don't know why people eat like you get 9 lives, you get 9 bodies to get through. But man, you go to Scotland, the stuff people eat. I mean, maybe it's changed now. I've been living down in England. I've been living in a big metropolis for 20 years. Yeah. But the diet in Scotland, man, always used to shock me. Like I remember going to a chip shop. And like, man, there's nothing like going in Dumfries. there wasn't really anything you could eat. My dad opened a like cafe bistro thing, like hoping to sort of, capitalize. This is in the 80s. Like for some reason he thought he was in Kensington or something. He opens this bistro serving like grilled steak and meat and salads and stuff. Man, that thing went bust faster than you can. He lost all his money. Became incredibly bitter. My mum divorced him. It destroyed his life, you know what I mean?
I feel it because it's what you're like viewing your own dad and he's like a loser. It's like my own father being, and me and my kids seeing me a loser. I mean, oh my God. And then the women, they talk about loyalty. Women are being more loyal. They're not loyal. They're not going to stay with you. They're not going to stay with you.
You know what I think it was? It wasn't just the money. It wasn't just the financial thing. I think it's because, when like it broke my dad, because he was like a sort of kind of happy, kind of successful-ish guy, because he started off as a gunsmith, like got an apprenticeship when he was 14, became a gunsmith, and then I think he started a business with my mum, and it made some money, and then that business folded, but they still had some money. My dad still had some money, so he opened this bistro. But man, the thing is, if he'd opened a chip shop, like I'd be like one of those Saudi playboys. You know what I mean? I'd have all that chip shop money. Like, that chip shop wouldn't have closed. It would have been like the 27th chip shop in Dumfries, but it would have still turned over so much money. Like, restaurants are such an easy way to lose a whole bunch of money. I remember him talking about, and I was like 6 at the time. I remember him talking about all this stuff that they couldn't, like they got in all this like steak and all this stuff that they were going to eat. They were going to serve to the customers, and they didn't get any customers. So, like all that stuff, all that money's just gone, And then when it went bust, he like slaved to pay back everybody. He could have declared bankruptcy or whatever, but instead he made it, a point of principle to pay everybody back, which sounds like a good thing. But the thing is, that means I had to go hungry. You know what I mean? Or maybe not hungry, but we could have been eating nicer food. I could have been wearing nicer clothes if my dad had just declared bankruptcy. Anyway, I'm not going to moan about, my
you
dad
are moaning about it, and that's why you are who you are, Leo. That's why you are. You are a guy who came from a failed family background, and you're a guy who does this. I'm not sure that women do this. Women think that, oh my God, I'll find a better man. That's what they think. I'll find a better man. Here is the point. What does what you're having to say have to do with globalism, communism, feminism, team world? What does it have to do with?
Well, I think now things are different.
Because I'll tell you what it has to do with.
Well, social media has changed everything. Before, people could be more honest because they were just presenting themselves to their friends. It was in social situations, in real life, in the pub and stuff. So you'd be sitting in the corner of the pub. Nobody's sitting in the corner of the pub being like, oh, guys, I think we should help the people in Somalia. Because everybody would be like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dave? You know what I mean? Like, get a pint in. And instead they'd be sitting there, like, telling jokes about the people in Somalia or whatever it is, which, might seem meaner. They might seem meaner in that instance, but it's actually healthier overall. I think this urge to, like, be virtuous or be seen to be virtuous is incredibly toxic at a national level, at a civilizational level.
When did Scotland begin to eat potatoes? That was the end of the line for Scottish people.
Because potatoes were brought back from the New World.
Yeah, but why? Why were they brought back? Because they were cheap food. They were cheap food. Yeah. Rich people didn't want to eat chips. They wanted to eat a piece of meat. They wanted to eat beef bourguignon or whatever rich people used to eat. They used to eat fish. And people were told that carbs are just as good as meat, and they're not. Yeah. They're not as good as meat. And what happens is people eating carbs, and they got weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. They lost their hair. Men did, and women too, basically. And it became a feminized world. You could blame chips. Nobody ate chips. They needed to be cooked.
Yeah.
They're not edible.
And now they're fried, which I guess wouldn't have been the way of cooking them for a long time after potatoes were brought back to this country, because you wouldn't have
That's exactly right.
You wouldn't have
fats
a big
and oils.
pan of of seed oil or beef tallow or whatever. That would have been incredibly valuable because it's mad
You
that
would have
we used
eaten
to.
it. You would have eaten it yourself. When I remember reading books back in the day. They used to, like, everything was drenched in beef fat.
Yeah, you spread it. I remember my grandma made us like dripping on toast. It's like beef dripping from whatever being cooked and spread on toast. It was it's delicious. It's delicious. You go to a Polish restaurant, they're still eating like that. But it's mad that fat was so valuable back in the day, like back before I guess people realized you could get fat out of seeds. That like one of the sources
You cannot get fat out of seeds.
you can't. You get seed oil.
No, that's oil. Oil is not fat. Fat is the protective thing. I know you think it, and that little slight change of thought, when you see the difference between an oil, which is toxic, and a fat, which is healthy. I'm not 100% sure about this.
Well, it's
but
mad.
when you think...
Well, it's mad that it used to be so valuable that our main source of fat was going out into the sea, the North Sea or whatever, in like boats, in like wooden boats. Sailboats in storming gales and people were getting swept overboard and dying, and we'd chuck harpoons into whales and battle this massive sperm whale or whatever, or a humpback whale, and drag it onto this ship and butcher it, and it'd be brought back to provide fat for the lights in London or whatever. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's our way of getting fat. Like, instead of, however, pressure treating some sunflower seeds, we'd like go and wrestle these titans of the ocean. That's a mental way of getting fat.
No, it isn't. The idea of what you said with the sunflower seeds, with hexane or whatever chemicals they put in it to get the fat out, that's even more shocking. And you got to tell your people not to eat that stuff anymore.
So how do they get the fat out of the seeds, and why is it bad?
It's bad because it's made with it's. I don't know why it's bad. No, it's omega-6, omega-3. It's not the right omega fat. It's not quite right. It's not right. I mean, it could make you live, but it's not healthy enough. It's not completely healthy. And what it does is what?
Well, I was just going to say, how come people live so long? You'd think, if everybody was healthier when they were eating nothing but, beef tallow, how come then people were dying age like 40? And now people are living to 80, even though they're eating,
That's not true. That's not true. People are dying. Look at the Queen. She died at 97 or whatever age she died after Charles. And the point is that people who early in their lives ate a lot of animal fat, which is the only food there was. They live long. But people today are dying younger and younger and younger. Those people... Like, how long do you think I'm going to live? I'm 68 years old. I look amazing. No, I don't. I'm 68 years old. But do you think I'm going to live till 98 years old? Those people, your dad, how old was your dad when he died?
81. He didn't live a healthy
81.
lifestyle. Like, it's funny, like, he did, he sort of started drinking and started drinking and eating bacon and just checked out kind of thing. But then he just
Bacon
kept going.
is healthy and good. You're now blocked. Can you hear me? Yeah. Is that what I'm saying is if you live a healthy meat eating 0 to 15 years old, you could live till 95 years old. But if you don't, the kids today, they're not eating healthily when they're 10 years old and 5 years old, and they're not going to live till 95 years old. They're going to die early.
It's probably a defense mechanism against getting trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. You know what I mean? You've got to hit 22 stone, so you're too heavy for the private jet.
But the thing about Jeffrey Epstein is he actually went to these girls and said, I'll pay you money. Like Virginia Giuffre, she's dead. You feel bad for her. But she was paid £15,000 to have sex with Prince Andrew.
Yeah, but she was young. She was like a teenager.
Yes, but she was paid money. What do you think? Teenagers shouldn't be told, don't have sex with Jeffrey Epstein, don't take money for sex. If somebody comes up to you and says, I'm going to offer you money, where were her parents at the time? But her father was probably being kicked out of the house because he opened up a restaurant that failed. And wasn't there.
But, I mean, like, I think, fair enough if he's paying, like, 26-year-olds 27-year-olds
Yeah.
for sex. But if it's teenage girls, man, that's exploitative. And like, you know, when you're a teenager,
It is exploitative, and it is horrible. It is horrible. But she was paid £15,000 to fly to be with Prince Andrew. This is like maybe how many years ago was this? Am I defending the guy? I'm not defending the guy. What he did was illegal and really wrong. But these were. I'm not going to make any friends here. Okay, she was acting of her own volition. And she was quite happy about it for a long time.
Yeah, but she was a teenager.
I mean, so was Joan of Arc.
Yeah,
there were lots of.
Nobody was noncing Joan of Arc. Also, that was the old days, and I think, you know, kids grew up faster when it was Joan of Arc times.
Yeah.
Was Joan of Arc a teenager?
I think she was. Maybe she wasn't. I don't know. Maybe she was.
I'm gonna Google it. How old was
Joan of Arc?
Joan of Arc when she died?
I guarantee you,
you're right.
We're going.
You don't know, she was 19 years old when she was burned at the stake. She was a peasant girl who led French armies to victory during the 100 Years' War before being captured, tried for heresy, and executed. So she was roughly 17 when she began leading the French army. She was
Greta Thunberg. Yes, that is insane. That is insane. But she's responsible. It's like that woman up there who became the MP, whatever her name is, Mary, whatever her name is, up there in Scotland. Mary, whatever her name was.
Oh, Mary, Queen of Scots.
Not Mary, Queen of Scots. The woman who was the MP.
Ruth Davidson.
She was not Ruth Davidson. Mary. What was her name? She was a woman, and she was a girl. Am I going to have to Google it?
I mean, Ruth Davidson was pretty young.
I don't know how Ruth. No, this girl was 19 and she became an MP, or she was 20.
Right.
And she was old enough to be an MP.
Yeah.
I'm not saying. This guy, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
There are a million of him. A million of him. People who were taking information on other people and making money off of it. Okay? He did it on a much higher level.
Yeah.
I think. Or he was like more deeply involved in rich people's lives.
Do you think?
I think it's a very.
Do you think it's going to bring down Starmer? Do you think it's going to bring down the Labour government? Because I think this is exactly, you know, Starmer came in as I am a decent man. His whole thing was being decent. It wasn't like, you know, fair enough if somebody like me comes into power. You know, I'd be like, yeah, sorry about that. You know, sorry I put Peter Mandelson in. I thought everybody was cool. You know, I thought it'd work. I thought it'd work out fine. Didn't think I'd get caught, and I think I'd get a bit of leeway because I'm not pretending to be a decent person. Whereas Keir Starmer's all like, I'm a very decent person, and British people are not British. And then, you know, it turns out Peter Mandelson, one of his top guys, one of the Labour Party's top guys for the last 20 years. Turns out, you know, despicable on an insane number of levels, like sort of putting a foreign financier ahead of British interests, sort of exploiting British interests to help a foreign financier just because this guy's giving him a few £1,000.
Yeah, this is why you are successful, Leo, because you've got this old-fashioned view of Britain, and you have got this old-fashioned view of politics. You know, like there's a difference between any of those people who are Labour politicians. There's not one bit of difference, except are you willing to go to revolutionary leftist action right now, or do you want to delay it? Are you a Fabian or are you a Corbynist?
Yeah.
Are you going to be nasty about it, or are you going to be nice about it, or vice versa?
Well, yeah, and this is the thing. If Starmer does go, he's not going to be replaced by somebody who's more sensible, like who's you know from more of the centre of the party. He's going to be replaced by somebody who's more popular with the party itself. And given that they're pretty far left and they're kind of worried about losing ground to the Green Party, that's going to be some absolute radical maniac. It's going to be possibly Angela Rayner.
What is the difference between any of them? And the question is, they believe revolution is coming. They believe communism is coming. It's coming.
Man, it's here. It's here.
It's here. It's here
did
already.
Your taxes
it's
last
here
week.
When the British people are not called British enough.
Yeah.
When they're not. When that's unbelievable racism. When they're saying out in the countryside, these areas, there are not enough black and people. We need to make it more black. Okay,
Yeah.
that's big toe. That's you know what I mean. And maybe he's being replaced. Maybe Keir Starmer. What goes around comes around. It's the Keir Starmer replacement theory.
Do you think
but the truth is,
it'll be David Lammy?
yeah, it could be. What is the difference between any of them? They all believe this.
Yeah, but some of them are gonna, like, at least with I say at least with Rachel Reeves. I mean, it's not much, but I mean, at least Rachel Reeves, her first instinct isn't to raise taxes and splurge on benefits. It's something she ends up having to do because that's what the Labour Party want, and there'll be a revolt in the back benches if they don't raise taxes and splurge on benefits. But Rayner wants to raise taxes and splurge on benefits, so then it's going to get even worse. The acceleration is going to increase.
No, because it's like what happened with Rayner. She raised taxes and people fought back a little bit, the way British people can fight back in this country, which is not fighting at all, and it's going to. It could. Do you think it would be? You think it would be any different if Corbyn, or if Shabana Mahmood, or whatever, any of these other people got into power? It's not. The tide of communism is coming.
But this tide of communism is already here, because I mean, doing your tax return, like I noticed, the last, as you go up the sort of tax bands, like I'm like, oh, that's the money that made me that much. That's the money that made me that much. And then I'm like looking at the last few jobs, and because they're in the sort of higher tax band, I got no money from those jobs. I went and did work. For essentially no reason whatsoever. From like, $2,500 or whatever, you get like less than $1,000 back after all the different things have been taken off. After your allowances get reduced. After all the things,
stop showing off.
All the
Stop
things.
showing
No,
off
man, I
had
a good year. But the thing is, it doesn't matter.
You are.
It doesn't matter if you have a good year, because
it's the 1960s, Leo. It's the 1960s. It's exactly this way, and it's going to continue.
But the point is, so you can go out. You can, like, I went out and I deliberately did lots of work because I was like, I want to, while I can make this money, while I've got the opportunity to make this money, I'm going to take every opportunity and make as much money as I can to try and, give my daughter. So we've got savings in the bank. My daughter can maybe go to a nice university or whatever. If anything goes wrong, we've got stuff. We've got savings to cover. And what happens is the government just comes in and says, "Oh, you've got more money because you worked harder. Yoink! I'm just taking all that extra money you worked for." So now I'm like, this year I'm like, well, I'm just going to stop working after a certain amount of time. If I'm going to be penalised for going out and doing that work, I'll just stay in and have a nice time with my daughter. I'll play patty cake with her. I'll play Lego with her or whatever.
They don't care. They don't want you to make any more money.
But that means if I don't go out and do that work's not getting done. And that economic activity.
Someone else will do the work.
No, that's the thing.
Will.
That's the thing. No,
Someone
Lewis,
else will do
Lewis, listen, if I don't do that work, I'm not doing that work.
Yeah.
That's reduced productivity. Somebody else does that work. It doesn't mean that there's like the same amount of work, because that person would have done other work. So that's how economic activity works. And like that means that our economic output is reduced. Our GDP is reduced. The government doesn't care because it's taking money off.
They don't care because it's a feminized communist world. They think there's money there, and we'll just divide up the pie. There'll always be a pie. We'll just divide the pie up. But you are so. This is the thing about you, Leo, and I love you for this. You're so delusional. You don't understand that the world has nothing to do with what you're saying. You think you're analyzing it properly.
No, the government.
These people.
The government thinks. So when the government looks at GDP or whatever,
they are looking at it. They don't care.
They look at GDP. Of course they care.
Yes.
They can't borrow money. They can't borrow money for all the communist bollocks unless the GDP is in a certain ratio.
They will take the money out of the bank accounts. No, you're looking at the GDP. You're seeing the country collapse. They are not seeing the country collapse.
So, Lewis,
they think collapse is good.
The GDP ratio has to be in a, you have to have a certain amount of GDP, a certain amount of economic growth to be able to borrow the money you need to borrow to splurge on all your pointless welfare and all your, stupid communist plans. So they need the GDP to be a certain amount. But what happens is, that GDP reflects like genuine economic activity, like when somebody goes and builds an oil rig or somebody sells a sandwich in a shop. That's genuine economic activity. That's something being sold to someone that's providing them value, like in the free market. Other parts of that GDP represent stuff like welfare being given to some scroungers, some people who've just flown in, got their their family repatriation or whatever. So when they get given money and they get to go spunk it up a fruit machine or whatever, that's economic activity as well. That counts as GDP, but that's not healthy GDP. You can't replace a healthy free market economy with like benefits. So it's mad that there's no distinction between those different types of economic activity, because one of them's sustainable, one of them's good, one of them's what you need to sort of keep a country going, and the other one's just empty, just froth. It's a wank.
They don't care. They don't care. They're just going to blame the Jews.
Yeah, man. People love blaming the Jews.
They love blaming the Jews. They'll just blame the Jews. Where is the money? Oh, this person left and took the money. That's why we don't, we don't have the money. Or they're going to say, you stopped working. We're blaming you as a man for stopping working. So, I mean, I forgot what point I am making. Well, the point is, there's no difference between Starmer or any of them. Any of them. Starmer was fantastic because he didn't flinch. He did the most horrible things, and he didn't flinch. And only yesterday did he flinch when he said, I did, or he did, or whatever he said about Jeffrey Mandelson. Only then. But before that, he didn't flinch.
Yeah.
You just killed people. I don't care. He didn't care. He's a great authoritarian leader. He's canceling elections, arresting people for tweets, saying that the countryside was racist. That's racist in itself. Too white. He's a great. I have unbelievable respect for Keir Starmer. He basically is a story of the salesperson who's his first day at work in the company. He sells widgets, and the first day at work says there are 2 shops across the street. We're going to give you a little experience being a salesman. We're going to send you to the easiest shop to sell widgets. They always buy from us. Just go there, and the guy is going to scream at you for an hour. The person who owns the shop, he's going to scream at you for an hour, and just sit there and take his screaming, and then after an hour, just say 1,000 widgets, and the guy will say, yes, 1,000 widgets. So he goes across the street to one of the 2 shops, but he forgets, is it the shop on the left or the shop on the right? Well, he goes to the shop on the right instead of the shop on the left, and he sits there and says, I'm from the widget company across the street. And the guy starts screaming at him for an hour, screaming. I would never buy from your company. It's horrible. And then he says to the guy, should I put you down for 1,000 widgets? And the guy says, okay, 1,000 widgets. And he goes back and says, I listened to him for an hour and he bought 1,000 widgets. And he says, the shop on the right, he never has ever bought from us. And that's what politics is putting up with people screaming at you.
What on earth was that anecdote? What was that story?
I don't know.
What was that story? Did you make that up on the spot just now?
No, I heard it. Zig Ziglar told it to me. Is that the anecdote is that being a politician is saying they want to kill us, we're not going to let them kill us, and not being afraid or pretending not to be afraid. At the shop, it was a horrible anecdote, Leo. I'm collapsing. I'm looking at myself right now, and I look at how horrible I look. Do I look horrible?
Are you burnt out from doing? Because you stream like twice a day now.
I stream twice a day.
Right, blame me.
I try to stream twice a day.
Yeah.
Basically, mostly twice a day. 3 hours a day streaming.
3 hours a day.
No one's interested.
And
3 hours a day.
Are you making money off that? Is it?
No, there's no money. Lewis Schaffer's no money. That's why whenever they talk about Jews, you go think yourself, what the hell do you know about Jews? What do you know? You know what I mean?
Well, people are talking about Jews more now because Jeffrey Epstein, is Jewish, and in some of the emails, he's referring to people as goyim, which is I guess a derogatory term.
It isn't a derogatory term. It's like
hey, you don't get to tell me what's racist. When somebody's being racist against me, you don't get to decide. This is what I find from Black Lives Matter.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, they think it's not. It's like the way what Goyim means. It's just kind of a euphemism, kind of a jokey term for Christians. It could be used in a good way or a bad way. It's like what you went and had your car. You went to the Jewish mechanic. What do Jews know about mechanics? You want an accountant or a filmmaker, you go to a Jew. You don't go to a Jewish mechanic to fix it. You go to the Goyim. The Goyim. And that, or you'd go, oh my God, you went to the Goyim to have your accounts done? How could you go to the Goyim? That's what it means. It's not ever an insulting way. If it is, I'm in trouble. Because we used it, my family, my parents, it was the standard way you would talk about the non-Jews, the Goyim.
Right.
It made you feel good in your own little group of people.
Well, I'll give you a Goy pass. So yeah, because you got enough Goyim friends, you get a Goy pass. You get to use it.
I mean, yeah, I think I do. I don't think I've got enough Goyim friends. I need more friends. I'll take even non-Jewish friends. But it's like I'm trying to. It's not an insult. The fact that Matt Walsh, did you see Matt Walsh's thing? He's making it seem like it's an insult. It's not an insult. It could be used as an insult. It's like I remember my grandmother was talking about two cousins and says one married a doctor and the other married a Goyim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah. So the other guy's not not successful.
He's not a doctor. He's a Goyim. It's like, and my father would use the term Goyish a cup. I don't speak very much Yiddish, but Goyish a cup, which means a Christian way of thinking. It would be like a stupid way of thinking. It made us feel better.
You just said it's not derogatory. These sound like derogatory terms.
But it could also be a positive thing. Like, why can't we think like the Goyim and not be worried about something like that? It could easily be used that. It could easily be used that. It's like the way black people talk about white people, you cracker. It could be meant in a mean way. Get off my, you cracker. Or it could be like the crackers who live on the other side of town or live in the next village. Where I grew up, there was a town. We were all Jews in my town.
Why
we were all Jews.
What's the etymology of cracker? Why were we called cracker?
Because we look like a biscuit, a car's cracker. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know honky. Honky comes from apparently when white guys would come over to the black side of town, and they'd be like maybe one of them seeing a black lassie. You wouldn't get out of the car. Think they'd be worried to get out of the car, so they just honk their horn. So that's why we're called honkies.
It could be made up too. I'd have to check that out. You don't know. There's like a lot of these things. They sound true. They're not true.
Yeah.
The point is that it isn't. Jeffrey Epstein is trying to become friends with people.
Yeah.
So if the person is a Jew, he goes, "Us Jews, we're together. I would never screw you." And that's how Jews screw each other. It's like that old saying. How do you say "f you" in Yiddish? Trust me. Trust me. You know. I mean, as a Jew, I've been screwed by Jews. So many Jews, probably more Jews than non-Jews. I mean, are they bad people? The problem with the Jews is we are better than you because we're more intense than you. We actually have feelings. We actually think it's important for us to make money and to do things, to be like primary inventors. It's like it's not enough just to be on a low level. We've got to be the top guy.
Well,
we could be the top. I
heard an interesting thing about white people. Well, the European white people that said, because Chinese people ace the scores in maths and stuff like that. But apparently they don't have the creative side of things. So somebody said, a Chinese guy can take something from 1 to 10, but they can't take it from 0 to 1. They can't come up with the idea. Once the idea is there, they can take it. That's why China's always nicking like Western ideas. From fighter jet plans to everything to handbag designs. Like the creative side of stuff isn't as prevalent as it is in the sort of European population.
Well, they grew up in a different way. I don't know anything about those people, and I could care less about them. Is that at the end of the day, is that the Jews as a group, you can't even say generally because there are a billion Jews. We've been put in difficult situations, and you've had to think outside the box.
Yeah.
It's not, the rice field is not going to be there tomorrow for the Jews.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to talk about the rise of anti-Semitism because I'm seeing it happening on the left and I'm seeing it happen on the right as well. You know, like, you know, even you know, some people that I know, and I know that there's loads of based Jews. Look at Stephen Miller. Look at Andrew Gold. You know, there's based Jews. Look at Lewis Schaffer. You know, who you know share the same sort of ideas as me. But then it's interesting. You know the thing you were talking about, the government report that says that the countryside is too white. So it was authored, or it was under the department of Dame Tamara Finkelstein. Who's Jewish, and you know she's basically she's the descendant of refugees who came across maybe after the Holocaust or before the Holocaust or whatever, came to the UK, and now she's saying, oh, the countryside's too white, and I can see how that feeds into, you know, people on the right who say there's this subversive movement. And I think there really needs to be a sort of almost a coalition of based Jews who call this stuff out and slam it. We don't need the ADL calling out, you know, slurs or whatever. We need somebody, you know, we need an organization of based Jews and allies, such as myself, calling out stuff like this that does so much. I mean, this would have done so much damage to the image of Jews in the UK, and would have, like, this, you know, a Jewish woman saying that the countryside is too white and has to be, you know, colonized with Africans and whatever. That's you know, that's just playing so much into the replacement conspiracy theory. I mean, I say conspiracy theory. This is it. This is what they say it is.
Well, what do you want me to say? The Jews they're a group of cats. You cannot herd them.
Yeah.
And there's only 15 million of them. And Jews are looking for ways to scam the system or to make or to do well in the system. But she's thinking, where is my bread buttered on? And she's also a woman.
Yeah.
And women believe in this kind of like that kind of do-goodism.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's good about them. They generally try to be caring. Of course, they're messing up everything.
Well, yeah, I think that trying to be caring thing, that's great in a sort of, you know, situation where you're looking after maybe a couple of toddlers. But when you're deciding on the future of the countryside and how it should be, I mean, I like the countryside the way it is. I don't think it needs to be to have you know, the entire population of Uttar Pradesh or Mogadishu airlifted onto it. I don't see how. You know, she insists that that's somehow going to improve the countryside. I just don't see it myself. And all the talk of, like, you know, oh, well, pubs are exclusionary because they serve alcohol. It's like, man, the pubs have been there for thousands of years. You know what I mean? You can't, like, turn around and be like, oh, well, now we've got to abolish the pubs, turn them into mosques to be inclusive. Yeah. Because what about being inclusive to me? Because I don't have a homeland to go to.
Yeah, it's like saying football is non-inclusive because some people don't like football. So maybe when a football game is going on, they could have, you know, knitting competitions or something. Yeah. It's like anybody who blames the Jews for this is an idiot. And this is what I tell people. And maybe the Jews are responsible for all evil in the world. I haven't seen it, but by saying the Jews are responsible for all evil, you automatically are a loser. By saying
that's a great point.
You know, to say you're a loser, you will lose. People in history who have said this have not been treated very well.
Man, that's a great point, because I mean, like, my sort of response to people saying it's the Jews is like, well, like there's loads of different Jews, you know what I mean? You're focusing. It's like saying Owen Jones represents all white people, and that's a nonsense as well. But like this idea of because like people like Nick Fuentes and people like that always say, you know, oh, the Jews are controlling the white man. It's like, so why is the white man being such a pussy? Why is the white man letting himself be controlled? If you're saying that, you're literally saying, oh, we're subservient to this, you know, to these people.
And on the other side, people are saying the Jews are stopping progression of a socialist ideology, when the truth is the Jews invented socialist ideology practically. Karl Marx and Engels.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of Jews. But then you could say, well, if the Jews are communists, what about all the other Jews that are not communists?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, like
and,
the Jews that I know tend to be pretty successful in business or in the arts, including yourself.
Yeah.
You know, they're not they're not going out and
Lewis Schaffer's successful. Oh, look at how I look. I look so horrible. I feel like I'm embarrassed to like show my face.
No, you're successful in terms of like how funny you are.
I let the audience decide how funny. I don't feel like I'm that funny. I'm defending Jeffrey Epstein. That's not funny. That's not funny.
That could be a funny thing. I mean, it's a terrible time. I sort of understand now. You know, when I was 14 years old, 15 years old, I couldn't get a girlfriend.
Yeah.
But like, man, how was I supposed to get a girlfriend when I'm competing with like billionaire financiers and
right, and they're taking
grooming
all the
gangs?
women.
You know what I mean?
And that, yeah. And but you take a look at someone like Jeffrey Epstein. He probably didn't have anybody, and he's basically he's almost like Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Who I have tremendous respect for. He's like Ted Bundy, a guy from a loser family who pretended to be a rich guy and an erudite guy. Meanwhile, he's doing horrible things. I don't support Ted Bundy. But you could... What I'm saying is, in the most evil characters, in Lewis Schaffer, you could find something that's meritorious. Is that the right word? Is that a word? Meritorious?
Yeah.
You could find something good. And I think the reason why this is such a big deal, why Jeffrey Epstein's a big deal, is they've released every single thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
And it's put a fear in everyone, all the different emails that we've sent to everybody, that they could look at that. And who knows what they could find.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Right.
and I'm wondering, I mean, that email address is still up there. I'm wondering if that email now, will I get my email into the next tranche of Epstein files that get released?
Yeah.
I could,
Well, a friend of mine, a comedian, he's in the Epstein files because some girl wrote to Epstein say, hey, would you like to see the comedy show? And Epstein asked, who's on the comedy show? And he named my friend. It's like, do you want to see the comedy show? Lewis Schaffer's going to be on the comedy show. So Jeffrey Epstein didn't say anything about Lewis Schaffer, but my name is not mine. That's not me. It's not me. It's not me.
because I thought if Jeffrey Epstein did have a favorite comedian, I mean, I would assume that it would be you, from the same part of the world, Jewish, misogynist. It's, you know, all the boxes are ticked. You've got a lot of scientific knowledge about diet. He was into scientific knowledge.
I think he could like it a lot. He could like Lewis Schaffer a lot.
Yeah.
Was he into scientific knowledge? I don't think he was. I think he was just, that's what people wanted to know about back then. He was like helping Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And then he was blackmailing Bill Gates, supposedly.
Well, yeah,
Like that letter that he sent.
and then they fell
to
out.
himself.
They fell out because Bill Gates asked Jeffrey Epstein for antibiotics for an
We
STD.
don't know that. We don't know that.
Man, we know it's
that.
true. We know it's true. I saw
Why
something
would
on
Bill
Twitter.
Yeah, it must be true that
Yeah.
you saw it on Twitter. No, he wrote a letter. Jeffrey Epstein wrote a letter to himself, like the kind of letter, I don't know whether it was coming from
Like a draft.
like a draft. This is what you should say to me. It's basically saying, I have this information on you. Or even if I don't have this information on you, how are you going to refute that?
Yeah.
How can you refute that? So I don't like Bill Gates at all. I'd rather be with Jeffrey Epstein than Bill Gates.
Oh,
Bill
man,
Gates
yeah.
has done.
Bill Gates is just like he's just got that like somebody who's a nerd when they're growing up, and then suddenly gets money, gets like the opportunity to shag Russian hookers, and does it. But like his insane like focus on everybody else's health and like getting people vaccines and getting people locked down. It's like you should have been locking yourself down. You should have been locking your dick in your pants so you didn't get an STD. Didn't give it to your wife.
This is you, Leo. You're so inherently conservative. You're one of those. Is that who cares about going to hookers? The guy has killed more people by advocating a plant-based diet. To me, that's horrible. By advocating vaccines. That's horrible. By promoting this whole COVID scare, that's horrible. By making computers unbelievably boring and unbelievably hard to work with.
You think it's like Bill Gates deliberately made computers boring to like keep people out?
Yeah, well, he could have changed it. He was what's his name? Stephen Jobs said he had no class. So he knew years ago to make the computer. I'm working on a Bill Gates computer. It's so complicated. It's way easier than it used to be, but it's still complicated. Am I right? Is it not complicated? We've had problems on this stream.
It
on
is
this
complicated.
stream, that's Bill Gates, but it's a bit cheaper than Apple, and more, easier to interconnect, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Gates is an evil, evil person. Should I say that? Is he going to come after me?
No, I don't. I think he's got other people. I think we've reached a critical mass of people calling Bill Gates names. I don't think he can come after them individually.
Well, good, because I am a coward.
Well, the one thing I don't like about when these guys become multi-billionaires like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, so then they divorce their wives because they work out they can get a new one or whatever, and then their wives get billions and billions of dollars. Like we're talking tens of billions of dollars. And then they set up these charitable foundations that just do all that, let's bring in loads of Somali, let's turn everybody transgender, let's open the borders, let's destroy society. They do all that. They do all that stuff. They do the stuff that the government's doing anyway. And it would be so much better if, I'm at the point where I think most charities do more harm than good. Like, unless
I agree with that.
Yeah, unless you got like some sort of, like a badger sanctuary where you're not a badger sanctuary that also goes into classrooms and teaches kids about pronouns. If you're just helping sick badgers, then maybe you're doing a bit of good for society. Unless badgers then cause a
Leo. Everything you believe is wrong. Everything you believe is wrong. Is that women are going to divorce a man whether they have no money. Look at your mom and your dad. He lost his money and she divorced him.
Yeah, I don't think it was about the money. I don't think it was about the money. I think it's because he changed.
Your mother lied to you.
No, I saw it. Man, I was there. I was there. I was in the house.
Yeah, because he knew how unhappy his wife was. He knew how unhappy your mother was. If your mother was like more loving to him, everything's going to be all right, dear. Don't worry about it. We'll do this. But she didn't act like that, did she? I saw my own mother belittle my father.
Yeah.
I saw my own father just think, I got to get away from this woman. So women are bad. Women are the cause of all evil.
But,
you are right about charity.
For men,
charity.
Well, for men, so much of our sort of identity and our self-worth, comes from our job, comes from, what money we're making or whatever, comes from what we do rather than, anything else. So I think, when you lose a business, especially, never mind losing it.
Yeah.
Like when I just lost my contract at GB News, I was, I felt deflated, not just deflated that day, but I felt like I'd become a different person.
Yes, you had become a different person because it's true. This is what men are. I didn't say this, but women are beings and men are doings. We are what we do. That's why. Okay,
that's a great point.
Yes, and so it's like I have to introduce myself as a TV pundit formerly on GB News. It's just, yes. So we got to fake being successful. We got to go out walking around looking for a job, making stuff up. Women just have to sit there and put on a little lippy and say, I'm beautiful, and then they get what they want. Women are horrible. They are horrible. And they don't return our phone calls. I feel bad. I feel bad for you because you're a quality person. When GB News fired me, I did not feel bad for me because I wasn't meant to be there. Right? You were meant to be at GB News. You were meant to be on TV. You were meant to be on TV. And now you're interviewing fakakta Lewis Schaffer. It's so sad. It's so sad. I love you, Leo Kurz. And I think people do love you. What were they told? Were they told, maybe they were told by Ofcom not to have you on?
It wasn't. No, you know what it was. The other thing that was sort of made it worse was when headliners finished. Like the next month, GB News became the number one news channel in the UK, and it stayed the number one news channel since, because Headliners was just weighing it down. Headliners was this black hole in the viewing figures where, like, you know, all right, there's some people who really liked it, but there wasn't enough of them, you know what I mean? All the people who like watching news would tune out, and then the people who like watching Headliners would tune in. Maybe we should have made it more newsy. I don't know, it's too late for that. There are other issues as well.
No. It should have been funnier. It stopped with you. It was funny, but there were too many stories. It stopped being funny.
Yeah.
I think that's the essence of it. I think October 7th, when they attacked the Jews. I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but I think it became too serious.
Oh yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, there's one person who, like, whenever he discussed anything like that, he had to become very serious. But then if it was, you know, discussing anything that happened to other people, could be as lighthearted as anything. Ukraine,
yeah.
But
yeah, and it could have been a funnier program. But I miss you. I miss. I mean, I was surprised I was on there for 2 years or whatever, however long it was. It seemed longer, but it was a good show.
It was a good show. Another thing, talking about violence in the Middle East, like, if we look at anti-Semitism that comes from a different part of the population, I've seen footage this week of people marching. You know, the sort of the pro-Palestinian marchers. They've now sort of metamorphized into, you know, they're holding the Palestinian flags, but now that's kind of simmered down. So they're also holding Iranian flags. And I'm not talking about the flag with the lion on it. I'm talking about the Ayatollah's regime flags. And they're holding up pictures of the Ayatollah as this, you know, I guess, they say it's anti-imperialism, as if Iran isn't an imperial, under the Ayatollah, isn't like an imperial colonizer, you know, funding, you know, with its fingers and all these Hezbollah and Hamas and all these things that destabilizing other parts of the world. But they see the Ayatollah is like standing up to America or whatever. But it's mad because the Ayatollah has killed like, what, 30, 40,000 protesters, you know, a couple of weeks ago. And these people were protesting against Palestinians getting killed. And we were told, oh, they're just upset that Palestinians are getting killed. Why are they protesting for the person killing the Iranians? Why are they protesting for the brutal leader of the Iranian regime who's killing the Iranian protesters?
Because there's, as I said on GB News, there's a war going on. There's a war going on, and they want the West to lose, and they want Islam to win. And they support Islam above all, number one. And number two is they support Islam above us. It's the same thing. Above Britain.
Yeah.
And so that's why. And the protesters, the leftists, are all insane because they've been on a high-carb diet. And a toxic seed oil diet has made them insane. And I actually believe that legitimately. It makes them insane.
Well, you know, riots and protests in the Middle East, like the Arab Spring, those types of riots and uprisings. Because they used to have, you know, even before the Arab Spring, when it, you know, properly kicked off in, Tahrir Square, Cairo or whatever. They used to have, you know, protests every once in a while and, like, popular uprisings that never really, you know, went anywhere. But it was always correlated to the price of wheat. So if the price of wheat went up, there was more chance of riots and protests because people were hungry. And people were hungry, they were angry, they were hangry. And that's basically what was making people riot.
I think the left are insane.
Yeah.
I think that they're insane.
I'd agree.
I mean, they believe that we can all get along, and it's also a group mentality. Who believes in a group mentality? Women. Women are groupists. They love hanging out with each other. They're whatever they agree with. They believe in congeniality, but nothing ever great is done with that much congeniality.
Yeah.
Inventions are made by individuals. The rocket ship, maybe.
Look at Elon Musk with his rocket ships. You know what I mean?
Yes, look at that guy. Did they say to Elon, you have to be in a group with other people to come up with this idea? No.
Yeah.
He's going to come up with his own idea.
And this idea that, like, you know, say you've got an individualist like Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, as if the Sistine Chapel, it would be improved if we had, you know, an HR department with diversity consultants telling him how he should paint it and telling him what colours he should use, what the size of the paintbrush should be, what he's allowed to paint. As if that would improve the Sistine Chapel. But
at the
somehow,
same time,
that's something that improves all art now. If you fill in an Arts Council funding form, or if you want to be on the BBC or be shown in a gallery, you've got to meet all these diversity requirements and tick all these boxes.
I don't think you need to worry about this because eventually the Muslims are going to take over, and there won't be any of this stuff. And women will be totally. You think Lewis Schaffer is a misogynist? Will be completely under the thumb of the the new religion.
Yeah,
they won't be.
Well,
They won't be.
I was talking to a friend about potential Muslim takeover of Europe, and I think the thing that'll stop it is if something horrific happens, like the Manchester Arena bombing. If something like that happens again, because look what happened after the Southport attacks. The government almost lost control. The country almost tipped over the edge. I don't know how close they were to calling in the army or whatever. And that was for a 100% Welsh Christian choir boy. So imagine if he'd been a foreigner.
Yeah. Was he 100% Welsh?
Oh, with there was a bit of paper and everything. There was a bit of paper with Welsh written on it.
It says where he was born. Hold on.
Nobody more Welsh than that.
Hold on. Let me turn my phone off. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you just get a message?
I just got a message.
What would it say?
I got a message. It says it's from a girl telling me that I'm being horrible to women. From my girlfriend.
What are they tapping into the stream right now?
I don't know what they're doing. Of course they tap into it.
Is this your original girlfriend?
I have lots of girls that I am so in love with. That's the problem with women. That's the problem with me. I think they're horrible, but I'm so drawn to them. And I don't even know what to do with them. At the age now, what do you do with a woman? But I'm just totally drawn with them. The truth is that these people are not going to stop being terrorists. They're not going to stop blowing things up. Yeah. They're not going to stop fighting war. They should just be calm about things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just before we go, so you can get back to the admin of managing your harem. I mean, we saw the Palestine Action protesters this week. Even
are you going to edit this thing?
Well, I'll probably have to because there's a lot of bollocks, isn't there?
The whole thing is bollocks. I haven't said anything that interesting. You've been brilliant. I've disagreed with you, Leo. I feel bad that I've disagreed with you. But you're just you're such a conservative. like you're involved in politics. And I think it doesn't matter who's the prime minister, whether Boris Johnson is.
Yeah, but look at it. It does matter. Look at Margaret Thatcher. She came in. It was different. And then Tony Blair gets in. It's different, fundamentally different on a fundamental level. The trouble is, since Blair getting in, everybody's just been the same, and nobody's been willing to sort of wrestle the blob to the ground and dethrone it, deglove it.
So do you think that Nigel Farage is going to be that different? You hope so.
I think
I've heard so much negativity about him.
Well, people want absolute revolution. They'll want mass deportations and all the rest of it. But the trouble is, as we've seen in America, you can't really do that. This is why the left have got us over a barrel. Because when the left get into power, Biden brought in 24 million migrants. So
possibly.
And then you've got lots and lots. You've got millions of illegal migrants in the United States, but to remove them is a lot harder than them coming in. To let them come in, you just let them come in. You give them money and you let them come in. To remove them, you've got to send these burly guys in blacked out SUVs in to drag them out, and you do that millions and millions of times. Number one, there's a huge cost to that, and number two, a lot of people aren't going to like it. They're going to be like, oh, but this is mean because it's so visible. You know what I mean? The people that are absolutely fine with grooming gangs because it happened behind closed doors, they didn't actually see. It wasn't in the middle of the street being videoed by somebody. You don't see the horrible things happening. You just read it. And there's a lot of people who can't conceptualize something from reading text. So they're fine with the grooming gangs. They think it's absolutely fine. It's just a myth. It doesn't exist. Whereas seeing ICE, whack somebody with a with tear gas or shoot somebody, that's very visible. It happened right in front of them. So then all of a sudden they're like, we've got to stop ICE doing this. But really the problem is that the left committed the crime of bringing the people in. They bring them in,
we
know
know
they can't
that.
be removed.
But we need you need a political party who's going to say, we are going to deport people, millions of people, if you vote for us. And I don't think Starmer is doing that.
No, he's not.
So,
and also, like,
so
man, the thing, like talking to my mate in Birmingham, who's in that community, in one of the communities, like everybody's on benefits, everybody's committing benefits fraud. Not him, but like he says 80% of them are committing benefits fraud, and so like if you just cut off the benefits, a lot of people have spent that money, the money they made in Britain, building palaces, building really nice houses in Pakistan or Kashmir or whatever it is. So they'll go back, living their plan quite often is to go back and retire instead of spending.
Well, that's what their plan is, but they probably won't. People get used to living in Britain. I mean, that's a hope. That's a hope if you cut the benefits off. But you need a political party, someone who's going to say, we're going to do this. We are the party of deportations, and it's going to be ugly.
Yeah,
but we're going to deport you. But what's his name is not saying that. Farage.
No, but then I think it needs to be done in a way that makes it the humanitarian thing to do, that makes it a sort of plausible thing to do. Or the other option, which the government seems to be doing, is just waiting until there's some horrific incident and their hand is forced. But then it's a real shame that we have to have that horrific incident. You know what I mean?
No, you're wrong. There's been horrific incidents after horrific incidents all over the world, even in this country, all over. What was it, July 7th? That was a horrific thing. It's like it's not educating. The British people are cowering in fear.
Yeah.
In fear. So the answer to that question is no.
No, but I think things have changed now. I don't think, if there's another Manchester Arena and, there's a vigil and somebody comes out and says, oh, don't look back in anger, I think people are going to, that person would get beaten to a pulp. That's what I love about you, Leo. You're filled with hope. You're filled with hope. I don't feel the hope. I think we're basically screwed. No, I think things have changed, and people would look back in a lot of anger. I don't think they would. All right. I don't think they would. We better leave it there. I think we better leave it there. Well, I predicted it. I'm predicting it. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the English people will say, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I don't
see it.
I think we've.
Let's pray. Let's pray for this country.
The British people, that spirit, that national spirit that once dominated a third of the world, I think, that can come back. We'll make Rhodesia again.
Yeah. We'll take over the world. Yeah. You will take over the world. I don't know. Let us pray. Should we pray for a minute? Dear Lord.
Yeah.
Dear Lord, let us pray for the people of Britain, the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, the Celts, the Cornish, the Scots, the Picts, the Irish, the Northern Irish, the Cumbrians, the Lancastrians, the Mercians, the Essex people, the Kentish people. Let's pray. Let's pray.
What a nice note to leave it on. This is Lewis Schaffer. You can see him stream twice a day, I believe, on his YouTube channel. And yeah, it's great seeing you, man. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow. We're going into town for an event.
I said yes to that. Did I say yes to that?
You did say yes to that. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you want to see more stuff like this and stand-up sets, then like and subscribe. And if you want to see me perform stand-up live, I'm doing a UK tour in April and May. If you want to see if I'm performing near you, there's a link to tickets below. And if you want to support me making these videos, you can join a growing community of legends on my Patreon and get exclusive content, stand-up sets, live streams, all kinds of nonsense from as little as £3 a month. Okay, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye-bye.